the 4 worst fishes you can possibly shun, and the 4 you should eat every day if you are over 60. For years, it was presented to us that fish was the heartiest food for the heart, brain, and joints. Doctors prescribed it. Supermarkets plastered heart healthy stickers on it, and the seafood industry banked billions off that promise. But this is the evil truth. Some of the very same fishes are packed with mercury, toxic oils, and banned chemicals that quietly kill from the inside. And nearly all older adults are unaware it is happening. Keep on consuming the wrong ones, and the symptoms creep up unnoticed. Your hands shake when you hold a glass. Your knees hurt going up the stairs. You halt mid-sentence and assume it is just a normal process of aging. It is not. Worse, the most poisonous fish on this list has been discovered by research to speed up brain aging so much that older adults who ate it tested like they were 5 years older. Then why has no one alerted you? Because the global seafood trade makes billions selling the illusion that all fish are healthy. They silence the research, silence critics, and get you to keep buying what fills their pockets, not what maintains your health. But no longer today. On this video, we're going to expose the 4 fishes secretly destroying your health, and the 4 that can undo the damage, all based on peer-reviewed science. We're going to show you which are the most deadly to life, threatening, and from healthiest to most life-altering. And prepare for a surprise when you hear about the second health-benefiting fish. Tried to enhance memory faster than medication, but nearly non-existent among seniors. We are answering all comments with advice specific to your circumstances. Let us begin with the 4th fish on the danger list, the one the industry never wanted exposed. Number 4. Farmed tilapia. Tilapia is one of the world's cheapest and most ubiquitous fish, typically sold in supermarkets as lean, low-fat protein. The truth is appalling, however. Most tilapia consumed in the United States and Europe comes from industrial fish farms, especially in China, where overcrowded pens force farmers to resort to antibiotics and chemicals just to keep the fish alive. When you eat farmed tilapia, you are not only receiving protein, you are also receiving traces of those drugs, chemicals that break down gut flora and weaken the immune system. A 2019 Environmental Health Perspectives study concluded farmed tilapia contained up to 27 times more pollution in the form of dioxins than wild-caught fish. Dioxins accumulate in fat tissue and have been linked with cancer, immune system dysfunction, and reproductive problems. Worst of all, tilapia's nutrient profile is toxic to older individuals. Instead of being full of anti-inflammatory omega-3 oils, farmed tilapia contains an abundance of inflammatory omega-6 oils that push the body toward ongoing low-grade inflammation. The numbers are sobering. Tilapia contained 11 times more omega-6 than omega-3, a dangerous ratio that accelerates joint stiffness and strains the heart. A Wake Forest University study went as far as to determine that tilapia's omega-6 levels are so high that eating it is more detrimental to your heart than eating bacon. That is incredible given how it is being marketed as a health food. I recall one patient, Harold, a 71-year-old Ohio-born retired mechanic. He came to us with joint pain, memory loss, and unpredictable surges in blood pressure. Proudly, he told us he ate fish 3 times a week, most commonly tilapia, because it was the healthy choice. His laboratory tests reflected heightened inflammation. By replacing his farm tilapia with wild sardines and salmon, his pain was reduced by 60% within 3 months. His wife even mentioned that he ceased repeating the same questions at dinner. The improvement was so dramatic that Harold jokingly says now that he got his rusty old engine overhauled with a new one. If you like tilapia, forgo the farmed ones altogether. Opt for wild, caught whitefish like cod or haddock, which are lean and much safer. Bake or steam them with herbs instead of frying, since frying magnifies inflammatory oils. The problem is not the fish, but how humans raise it for business at your cost of health. Now that you are aware of the danger of farmed tilapia, we'll proceed to the next one. Fish that contains a more toxic secret lurking in the silver flesh. Number 3. King mackerel. Initially, mackerel sounds like a brain buster of a fish. Doctors readily prescribe oily fish for the heart and the brain. Not all mackerel, however, is the same. There is a deadly difference between the little Atlantic mackerel, which is safe, and the king mackerel, one of the sea's most mercury-infested fish. Mercury is a toxic metal that strongly attaches itself to fish muscle proteins. When eaten, it is absorbed into the bloodstream and finds its way into the brain, skirting the blood-brain barrier, a defensive shield surrounding the brain that shunts toxins. Inside, mercury disrupts neurons by binding onto critical molecules needed for nerve communication. The result: memory lapses, mood fluctuations, and in severe cases, tremors that resemble early-stage Parkinson's disease. Evidence backs the risk. A joint review by the EPA and the FDA found king mackerel consistently on top of the mercury list, averaging 0.73 parts per million, over twice the acceptable rate for sensitive groups like seniors. A study also linked high consumption of mercury to a 24% elevated rate of mild cognitive impairment in the elderly. In short, eating the wrong fish ages the brain by nearly a quarter. One of our clinic's cases remains vivid. Marlene, a 68-year-old retired school teacher from Florida, enjoyed barbecuing king mackerel steaks, viewing them as a healthy Southern tradition. Gradually, she started to feel numbness in her fingers and had difficulty remembering phone numbers. Her family thought it was part of normal aging, but the blood test had other news to share: mercury levels almost 3 times the acceptable limit. When she eliminated king mackerel from her diet and substituted it with small fish like sardines and anchovies, the symptoms disappeared. She saw her memory score improve by 18% after 6 months, and the numbness was almost gone. The best replacements are small, oily fish like sardines, which contain mercury at below detectable levels. If mackerel is on your menu, eat only Atlantic or Pacific chub mackerel and never anything labeled as king. Cooking kills nothing. Mercury binds to proteins too well, so replacement is the only real solution. But mercury is just half the tale. There is another fish with an even more sinister danger. Laced with industrial toxins banned in most countries, that fish is next. Prior to our next entry, if you are finding this information helpful, click the like button so more seniors can see it. And subscribe for each day's advice that protects your health. Number 2. Farm-raised salmon. Few foods enjoy a greater health reputation than salmon. Doctors, magazines, and even government guidelines all look to it for heart health, brain survival, and longevity. But the following is the appalling truth: not all salmon is safe. Farmed salmon, the source of nearly 70% of what appears on your supermarket shelf, differs biologically from wild salmon. Instead of sea animals rich in natural omega-3s, farm-raised salmon are cooped up and fed a processed diet made of fish meal, soy, and even chicken byproducts. The artificial diet changes the very composition of their fat. Instead of pure omega-3s, farmed salmon is packed with omega-6 oils, the same inflammation problem in tilapia. Only more so, since people eat salmon by the larger portion to believe it is medicinal for the arteries. The biggest scandal occurred when researchers tested the flesh of farmed salmon and discovered frighteningly high levels of polychlorinated biphenyls, industrial pollutants banned in America since 1979 due to their cancer-causing activity. The findings were so alarming that researchers warned eating farmed salmon more than a monthly event could pass the World Health Organization's safety limit. In older people whose livers are already less efficient at metabolizing toxins, this exposure secretly enhances cancer risk, deteriorates immune response, and worsens metabolic disorders, such as type 2 diabetes. As I define farmed salmon to older adults, I typically instruct them to imagine a battery cage for chickens, only underwater. The fish are white until farmers feed them artificial colorants so they can artificially dye the flesh pink, much similar to wild salmon. That alone is sufficient to make many never eat the farmed version again. And if betrayed salmon is bad, Number 1, worst fish is worse. So toxic it has official government advice specifically warning seniors to steer clear of it altogether. Number 1, swordfish. And if seniors over 60 are to leave one fish alone, it is swordfish. At first glance, swordfish looks like a luxury. It is often grilled at restaurants or promoted as thick, meaty steaks. It has a firm and robust texture and has intense flavor that seems to convey strength and life. But beneath the disguise lies one of the dirtiest foods on the sea. Swordfish are apex predators, found at the very top of the food chain. Because of this, they amass mercury to absurd levels. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration alone warns children, pregnant women, and older people to avoid it altogether. The danger is in what becomes of mercury. Salt and sugar just get washed out of the body. Mercury settles into tissues, primarily in the brain and kidneys, and disrupts basic cellular activities. The magnitude of contamination is vast. A single meal can overflow the body with a toxin which can remain in the system for weeks, even months, especially among elderly adults whose liver and kidney function already starts weakening with age. The only safe approach is to stay away from swordfish completely. There is no safe level, no food preparation, and no supplement that can undo the harm mercury produces once in the brain. There are healthier options, however, in the form of small, oily fish like sardines, herring, and anchovies, which contain such minute quantities of mercury that you can eat them daily. Now that we have the offending few out of the way, the question is, which fish actually protect you, energize you, and even reverse damage? The answer is surprising, because the science has discovered some fish can lower risk of heart disease by as much as 36% and improve memory in a few hours. Let's begin with the fourth healthiest fish, anchovies. Anchovies are small enough to fit on the tip of your finger, but they pack a big nutritional punch that makes them an ideal option for seniors. Since their life cycle is short, and they consume only plankton, they will not have heavy metals like mercury in their bodies. That makes them one of the cleanest seafood foods, even for elderly individuals who have compromised detox mechanisms. What anchovies do abundantly contain is DHA, an omega-3 fatty acid that enters brain cell membranes directly. Older adults who eat anchovies boost brain DHA, strengthening their synapses, the tiny connections that allow for memory and learning. Anchovies also have calcium in a new form. Because their bones are soft and edible, each serving adds natural calcium and phosphorus in perfect ratio. Cooking is also crucial. The most suitable way of eating anchovies is to slightly grill them or blend them into sauces, because frying destroys their delicate oils. For others who do not want to eat their strong taste, marinating in lemon juice or olive oil dulls the taste while keeping nutrients intact. Even canned anchovies keep all of their mineral content, so they are both cost-effective and hassle-free. And while anchovies are tiny dynamos, the next fish offers even greater protection, especially for the heart. So it is a daily supplement for the elderly. Number 3, sardines. Sardines aren't glamorous, packed tightly into small cans at the back of grocery store shelves, but they are one of the most powerful foods for longevity for older people. The little fish contain a remarkable mixture of nutrients that combat the very same conditions most common after 60. Like anchovies, sardines are at the bottom of the food chain and feed on plankton, and therefore are practically mercury-free. But sardines are unique in that they are high in vitamin D, calcium, omega-3 fatty acids, and a rare molecule called coenzyme Q-Phe, the energy spark in every cell. For the older heart, coenzyme Q-Phe is vital. By age 70, natural supplies can decline as much as 50%. Without enough, the heart muscle cannot generate energy, leading to fatigue and raising the risk of heart failure. Sardines also promote balance of cholesterol. Their omega-3s lower triglycerides, the blood fats that build up in arteries, while elevating HDL, the good cholesterol that acts like a cleanup crew inside vessels. Sardines are optimally canned in water or olive oil that preserve nutrients without introducing excessive fats. Avoid sardines packed in soybean oil since it is laden with omega-6 and cancels out part of their benefits. For individuals who dislike the pungent flavor, mixing sardines with a salad served with lemon juice or blending them in with tomato sauce makes them more acceptable without diminishing their effectiveness. They can't match the salmon's poise or the tuna's brashness, but sardines compensate tenfold with raw protective potential, and impressive as they are, the following fish up the ante even further, first protecting the heart, but also guarding the brain from dementia. Number 2. Wild trout. Wild trout is perhaps the least valued jewel of freshwater. To older people, it offers security, flavor, and robust health benefits minus the pollution risks that beset bigger fish. As opposed to farm-raised trout, wild trout consumes bugs and small aquatic creatures, sharing the same nutrient profile as wild salmon, often cheaper. Its most noteworthy nutrient is EPA, an omega-3 fatty acid that calms inflammation in joints and arteries. Many older individuals with stiff knees or aching hips do not know that some of their pain is caused by microinflammation within cartilage. Wild trout also has high levels of vitamin B5, critical to nerve function and the manufacture of red blood cells by age 60. However, the stomach no longer produces as much intrinsic factor. The protein needed to absorb B5, so deficiency becomes widespread. Numbness, tingling, and fatigue are often mistaken for aging. One serving of wild trout provides more than 150% of the body's daily need for B5 as a natural shield against this insidious deficiency. Another primary benefit of wild trout is that it contains low levels of mercury. Unlike swordfish or king mackerel, trout have shorter lifespans and will not store harmful heavy metals. This makes trout a secure choice for older adults who wish to eat fish 3 to 4 times a week. Baking in herbs or pan, frying lightly in olive oil is an excellent way to keep its healthy oils intact while adding natural flavor. Number 1. Wild salmon. Wild salmon is the most ideal fish seniors need to eat daily. Unlike farmed salmon, wild salmon resides in cold and pure water and eats krill and other small animals. This natural diet loads its meat with some of the highest levels of omega-3 fatty acids found in any popular fish. For elderly individuals, these oils serve as heart and brain lubrication. A traditional 5-year study published in Neurology followed older individuals and found that those who ate wild salmon 2 or more times a week cut their risk of developing Alzheimer's disease by 47%, which is to say that nearly half of those cases could be delayed or even avoided through simply eating this fish. Wild salmon is also filled with astaxanthin, a reddish color and transparently one of the most potent antioxidants ever studied, by 38% after 3 months. That translated to sharper eyesight, reduced joint pain, and slower skin aging. Preparation is key. Light baking or grilling preserves omega-3 oils, frying destroys them. Even canned wild salmon is a safe, budget-friendly choice, since it typically uses the relatively clean waters of Alaska. For seniors in need of keener minds, more durable joints, and independence over the long term, wild salmon is not just dinner, it is future insurance. And there you have it, the 4 fishes to avoid eating altogether, and the 4 you should be consuming daily. If you are 60 or above, the choices you make at the table can either accelerate decline or restore the strength you believed was lost forever. Now we'd like to hear from you. Did you ever notice that certain meals left you feeling more tired, fuzzy, or achy the next day? Which of the fish do you think might have been responsible? We'd love to know what you experience and your thoughts, so don't forget to leave them in the comments below. Your feedback matters to us. Thanks so much for watching.